All right, everyone, welcome to True Bed. My name's Todd, coming to you live today from my headquarters again here in Virginia. It is July 25th, 2026, loaded up here. So much to discuss, so much going on. Then I took a little bit of a break because I did not know what was going on with Trump and Iran, so I'm kind of just waiting to see. But we're going to press on today real fast. A lot to discuss. Let me just. But anyways, real fast, I wanted to talk about that World Cup that just finished. That was insane. Not too much into soccer, but it was something to see. I discussed the last study about how the excitement, enthusiasm was there. It's pretty wild to see that. But kind of glad that Spain won. I did not realize how much everyone in the world hated Argentina. Like I said, I don't know very much about soccer, but pretty impressive. Glad that Spain won, and it was amazing to me that the dynamics that was going on with that situation with the players. And I did not know that. Like I said, I don't know much about soccer, but and Spain pulled it out, rightly so. But it was amazing to see how many people from around the world came here just to see our country, and so amazed at what they had to see. So, but there's always people who stand out, I guess, from these tournaments. One of those guys was Erling Haaland. This guy's like a beast, man, like a real Viking that you would imagine he would be. But it was incredible to see that. He was an awesome player. Don't have too much of, I guess, soccer in the United States, but it was fun to see. Interesting times. And then at the end, you saw Trump there trying to worm his way into the final photo. It was just, I don't know what to say about how embarrassing or what. But anyways, a lot going on right now, even as I speak. That's why I kind of pause on this study to pick back up with what's going on with Iran. Now, I started True Bread. The first video I did was 2005. But I had been discussing this with my family and other groups right after 9/11, and had built this concept up in my mind. I did not know True Bread was starting, but I was telling people, and specifically this one group, this one leader, said, "Hey, man, you know what I grew up with in religion, and what you're saying and what I've been taught my whole life is not lining up with what I'm seeing on the earth." Remember, this is 2003. And I told this guy, he was the leader of this so-called group that I was in, I said, "Hey, look, what we were taught about the beast power coming out of Europe is not what I'm seeing. It's not what's lining up with today." You have to remember I was working on 9/11 as a pilot. So kind of sort of got my attention. And I began to ask myself, after I came out of these groups I was in, I was like, what do we see today that lines up with what I'm reading in Scripture? And I began to develop this concept of the King of the North. Now remember, I never heard this before. No one was teaching this to me, and they don't today. This very day. It is July 25th, 2026. If I didn't say that, to this very day, I did not say this. What I'm saying, there's 3 blocks in Scripture, from the prophets in the Old Testament all the way to Revelation. 3 power blocks on the earth. The king in the north, the king in the south, and the kings from the east. That's it. And I kept trying to identify these blocks, and I began to realize, like, wait a minute. In Revelation 13, it says, it asks the question, who can make war with the beast? And I started contemplating, like I said, at 9/11, like, no one can make war with the United States of America. Our military, we're the greatest military on the planet. So I began to realize the United States military with NATO and the Europeans, we're the beast power. And that one piece kind of led me to realize, okay, if the king in the north, from Daniel 11, from the Old Testament prophets, like I said, if that's the king of the north, which it is obviously today, no doubt about it, who are the other players? Well, then you have to ask yourself, who is south? And remember, you have to remember this is 2003 I'm talking about. I began to ask myself, well, who is south of Jerusalem? This is all based on Jerusalem. That's how the prophecies work in Scripture. The directions are based on Jerusalem. So I'm like, who and what is south of Jerusalem? And I kept coming up with the obvious answer, Saudi Arabia. And so that led me to study into Islam and going down that rabbit hole with Muhammad and where did it start and when did it start. 600 AD, Mecca and Medina. Mecca and Medina are like due south of Jerusalem. And I started thinking to myself, that fits perfectly with what I'm thinking and what I'm seeing today. But the problem I was having was Saudi Arabia is allies with the United States and with the Zionists. So I'm like, that is not fitting. That is not fitting the profile of prophecy. But it began to dawn on me it was Iran. Because we had already defeated Iraq. Iran was the one bloc on the planet that could qualify as the king of the south, but they're not south of Jerusalem. They're east. It's like due east. However, they are Islamic. And Islam started south of Jerusalem. So that Muslim bloc, that Muslim group mentality is in Iran, and Iran is the direct enemy. And remember, I was saying this in 2003. What we're seeing today had not even anywhere close to taking place. But I know in Saudi Arabia, however, is the Islamic bloc. Well, who is the obvious opposing force to the Zionists and the United States? There's no other Islamic bloc except for Iran and Yemen and the Houthis. And they're allies together. They are the king of the south. And then that's why I started asking myself, well then, that makes perfect sense to me because that's what I'm seeing happening. And then I started asking myself, who are the kings from the east? Well, who does it leave? It's pretty obvious. It's Russia and China. So back in 2003, I'm putting this together, and I'm telling this person, this actually happened to me. This leader of this group that I was going down into Wichita to visit with for holy days, in his hotel room, telling him this, and he laughed in my face and eventually kicked me out of his group because he couldn't take what I was saying because I disagreed with everything he said. And not only that, I disagreed with everything I was taught growing up as a child. And I'm like, wow, I'm getting kicked out of, I get kicked out of two groups, one over Passover, one over what I just said about prophecy. That was 2003, and then to the point of giving up and talking to my parents. That's when because my mom and dad helped me, come into religion, and we were going through this process together, me and my family. I started True Bread in February of 2005. And here we are of July 2026. I'm saying the exact same thing that I said in 2003. I said the exact same thing in 2007 on live TV, and for 11 years and 5 years on live radio. I've said the same thing, and no one else on this planet is saying what I'm saying. The King of the North, the United States, NATO, European Union, Australia, Japan, Canada, whatever nation you want to put in there, our allies, that bloc, that is the King of the North military force, and Donald Trump is that king, the King of the North, the little horn of Daniel 7, verse 8. There's nothing else on the planet that lines up with that scripture and that prophecy except what I just said. Now, this is something else that was astonishing to me that happened in 2009. This is the absolute truth. My mom made a comment to me, and she used the term BRICS. This is exactly what went through my head. I thought to to myself, because she lived with me in my house. My mom and dad, we all stayed together because I was in the airlines. I wasn't there a lot of the time, so they just lived in my house. We all lived together. And, we had Bible studies and all that together on holy days. And she made the comment about bricks. And I thought to myself, does she want me to buy some bricks and repair the front porch? And I asked her. She goes, no, the bricks. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. I almost fell over. I had never heard that term in my entire life. That's exactly the kings from the East, Russia and China and their allies, the BRICS bloc against the United States and NATO. They are clashing. And we're seeing that obviously in Ukraine and Iran. Now, today, fast forward to today, while I'm sitting here, what I'm saying, I paused because I had this Bible study ready to go 10 days ago, or whatever it was since last time I was here doing a Bible study, that I've been wondering what Trump was going to do, and I wanted to wait and see what he was going to do. We are right on the precipice. Now, I remember talking to my father and saying on my TV program back in 2007, 2008, that nuclear weapons will not be used until the very end. And I believe that till this very day. However, I've had to modify what I'm saying because there are different types of nuclear weapons, and I've learned more since 2003. We have tactical nuclear weapons, which they vary in size from, I hate to use the word small, you would think Hiroshima as a small tactical nuclear weapon, that size, that they can use today, that we have. They can drop from a fighter jet. Or the strategic nuclear weapons that we have on ICBMs. ICBMs that will take out a nation, that are so big. I've heard, and I don't know this for sure, I haven't been to a nuclear laboratory, but I've heard that the scientists have developed nuclear weapons so large that they won't even set them off because they don't know what's going to happen because they're so powerful. Now, that happened in Russia. I think it was called the Tsar bomb, TZAR bomb, the largest nuclear weapon ever detonated in mankind's history. They did not know if it was going to evaporate the atmosphere. That's how large a strategic nuclear weapon is. So what I'm saying is that, and this is where I'm trying to get to Trump. He has said this on this mountain, Pickaxe Mountain in Iran, where he says they have the nuclear dust, as Trump calls it. He said this week he would use nuclear weapons on that mountain. I have the exact quote. If I can find it, I'll put it on this tape. Now that's what I'm saying. That tactical, I believe, now, 2026, that the king in the north, the beast power, the 7 heads, 10 horns, will use tactical nuclear weapons. They are not going to defeat Iran otherwise. Iran is winning. I just heard today, like I said, this is very fluid. This is a very fluid Bible study. I wasn't even sure I was going to do this today or not. That Trump is begging Iran now for a deal, which he already had. And you've heard me say over and over repeatedly, I lost track after 39 deals that he said he wanted to make. So that was a month ago. I have no idea what level of deal he's up with today. But he is pleading. I just read right before the Bible study that he's pleading for Iran to make a deal. Because they have him. They've got him trapped over the Strait of Hormuz. They're not opening the Strait of Hormuz. And on top of that, they're closing down the Bab el-Mandeb Strait in the Red Sea. The Houthis have shut that down and they've attacked Saudi Arabia. That is exactly what Trump can't control with conventional weapons. And I'm at the point today, July 25th, 2026, saying that I believe that the King of the North, The United States and NATO are going to use nuclear weapons, tactical nuclear weapons on Iran, and they will defeat Iran. Because that's what prophecy says. That the king of the north will move into the king of the south. Let's just read that real fast here. I want to make sure I get these words correct. And yes, if you watch these studies, I'm here almost every Bible study, because basically you have to be. Daniel 11, verse 40. At the time of the end, the king of the south shall attack him, the king of the north, and the king of the north, United States, NATO, European Union, that military bloc, shall come against him, Iran, like a whirlwind with chariots, horsemen, with many ships. He shall enter the countries, overwhelm them, and pass through. So this is written in 550 BC. You've got to understand that, people. Daniel wasn't seeing aircraft carriers and fighter jets and nuclear weapons. He's being shown in his time chariots and horsemen and ships. But that's what it is for us today. It would be a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, submarines, fighter jets, nuclear weapons, ballistic missiles, things that like in Revelation with John, he saw it, but he didn't understand what he was seeing. He was seeing modern warfare, but he did not know how to explain it when he wrote Revelation. Same with Daniel. Daniel did not know how to put it into modern terms, to use his terms. But that's what we're seeing today. So Daniel makes perfectly clear the king of the north is going to go into the promised land, into the Scripture calls it the glorious land. Now, what we have today in our age in 2026, what the Zionists are calling it the Greater Israel Project. That is exactly the fulfillment of that verse, the glorious land. Let's just continue reading. He shall also enter the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape from his hand. These are the allies of the king in the north. Edom, Moab, and the prominent people of Ammon. That is Jordan today. We have military bases in Jordan today, and Iran is attacking those bases. He shall stretch out his hand against these countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. That's exactly part of the Greater Israel Project. Basically, half of Egypt from the Nile going to the east, because there's really nothing in Egypt but desert. So the Greater Israel Project, the glorious land from Daniel 11, is from the Nile all the way across past the Tigris and Euphrates, probably going up into Pakistan and Turkey. Incredibly huge, massive area of land. That's what Daniel says the king of the north is going to do, and they are doing it. That is the plan. And people want to say, oh, Greater Israel Project. I'm like, no, nice try. That's Daniel 11, 40 through 44, prophesied in 550 BC. And that's what we're seeing happen today. So if you hear the term Greater Israel Project, you think of these verses and understand it's prophecy being fulfilled. Of course, people aren't going to listen. I understand that. I was thinking about that a couple of days ago about, if I made a video with a cat chasing a piece of string, I would get 1 million views on YouTube. I get that. These videos don't get views, but the thing is, from my point of view, I don't care. It's not for everybody. So me getting massive numbers of views, yeah, that would be great, but I don't care, because I understand the vast majority of humanity are not going to believe Scripture. That's just the way that it is. So that's not my responsibility. He shall have power over the treasures of gold and silver, and what else? Maybe natural resources like oil, hydrocarbons, helium, urea, fertilizers, precious metals, rare earths. All of it goes, everything that comes through the Strait of Hormuz and the Red Sea. The things we can't even make. The beast power, I see this all the time in my mind, the way the Creator has designed it. Do you understand that I think it's like up to 90% of everything that the world needs, some of these nations need, come through the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab-el-Mandeb Strait. And the Creator has designed it as teeny tiny little choke points that can be controlled militarily, that no one else can control, unless they're defeated militarily And in my opinion, it's going to take tactical nuclear weapons. That's the observation I'm coming. What I'm seeing militarily, the United States and NATO is not stopping Iran with conventional weapons. And the Iranians and the Houthis are just terrifying and dominating the Middle East. And the other Gulf nations are terrified. I think like 95% of the humans that live in that area are dependent upon desalinization plants for their drinking water. And they could be knocked out tomorrow. So Iran has that in their back pocket. They could easily control the situation by taking out those desalinization plants and the terminals where they ship the oil. So Iran has tremendous power. And the King of the North knows that. But they're not stopping them with conventional military forces. That's my point. I believe it's going to have to go nuclear. I mean, that's why I say I didn't know when I was going to make this Bible study. Just a couple nights, I think 48 hours ago, I was reading. When I went to sleep, I thought to myself, they're going to nuke Pickaxe Mountain. That's the mountain the Iranians have. I'm sure that's what we call it. I doubt the Iranians call it Pickaxe Mountain, but that's supposedly where they have and that's where the B-2s bombed last June, which everyone forgets about. This has been going on for over a year, people. A year and a month now. Supposedly that's where they have their nuclear material stored under that mountain. And today I'm reading that Trump is thinking about sending over land forces to take over that mountain. They'll just be wiped out, liquidated. They'll be demolished. Iran will just wipe them out. So I mean, we just had 17 United States soldiers killed and came back to this country, and Trump went out there. Can you imagine if we had hundreds or thousands of dead American soldiers, what that would do? They're just going to, this is my own speculation. It's not in prophecy. I'm not making a prophecy. I'm just saying from my observation, from 2003 till today, I think we're going to nuke Iran. And I don't think there's any other option, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't want to see it happen, but I'm talking about going from, I've got another Bible study coming up on the timeline. I'm talking about going from Daniel 11 verse 40, what I just read to you right now, today, to Armageddon. And there most certainly is a timeline in Scripture. So you can be, in my mind, this is my own speculation, okay? I am certain that the Creator knows exactly when Armageddon is going to take place. And I know in my mind that He knows the exact moment His Son's going to come back to the Mount of Olives. The Messiah is coming back to the Mount of Olives to stop Armageddon. You've got to understand that, otherwise there'll be nothing left. I don't want to go into right now because, like I said, I have this other Bible study coming out. But in Matthew 24, the Messiah makes it perfectly clear, unless those days were shortened, there would be no flesh saved alive. So when it says those days are shortened, it means He's coming back to stop those days. In my mind, I've said this for years, he will come back to this planet to stop the strategic nuclear weapons. After they've been launched, He will stop them in flight and destroy them. And otherwise, like He said, there will be no human life left on the earth. So that's what I'm saying from today, reading Daniel 11, verse 40, like I just did to Armageddon. That's what we're talking about. And Armageddon, if you believe Scripture, like I said earlier, not everyone's going to believe. I understand that. I'm trying to talk to everybody. Maybe I'll get a cat and get a million views. Who knows? I'm trying to talk to everybody on the planet. So I'm trying to talk especially to people who will listen. And I'm talking especially on top of that to people who believe in Scripture. If you believe in Scripture. If you can't understand that we're on the path to Armageddon, you are not paying attention. From what's going on. See, it's easy sitting here. I'm in Virginia, in Central Virginia. It's very simple for me to forget about what's going on in Iran. I'm not in Iran. If you and I were in Iran, this nation's at war. You and I, we were at war. People forget that fact. This country is at war. I just read today that the Department of War, as they call it now, Department of War, is going to role play and gameplay the draft for men 18 to 25 years old. Now, what do you think happens after they gameplay that? Why would they even bring it up? I'm surprised they even announced it. What does it tell you? What are they going to do? If we try to send ground troops into Iran, we don't have the troops. We do not have enough troops to go take on Iran today as it is with the military we have today. That's a known fact. We do not have the forces. We've relied upon our aircraft for too long and our missiles. You cannot hold territory without ground troops. They cannot go into Iran, or they cannot stop Iran from possessing nuclear uranium material with bombs. They've got to have ground troops. And that's what they're saying. I just read it today. Just today. They're thinking about invading Iran to get the nuclear material with ground troops. That's just going to be a bloodbath. Now, I've never been to Iran, but I've seen the maps, and I've seen the topography of Iran. And it is nothing but mountains all the way around that entire nation. There's no chance. You know that the Iranians are ready for the American troops. You know they have the ambushes all ready to go. They're not stupid. That's why they're doing so well right now against, all they have to do is put a few mines in the Strait of Hormuz and shut it down. What is it? That costs them nothing militarily. So that's why I'm saying that the King of the North, the United States, NATO cannot stop the King of the South with conventional forces. That's the point of today. I think they're going to nuke Iran. Now listen to me. I just had this conversation with a friend of mine. If this country, the United States, uses one nuclear weapon on Iran, it is game over. This country will freak out. People will panic. People go into survival mode, and life will change forever, and it will never go back. Like I said today, I'm just sitting here in Virginia, nice and calm and beautiful and peaceful out here. That will be over, my friends. Now, I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just telling you the fact. This is just from what I've seen on the news. This isn't even from the scripture. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. And what I've been saying since 2003 with Iran, the King of the South, until today is what I'm seeing unfolding on the news, just itself. So it is happening. And now I've been thinking a lot about Trump. Now when Trump, let me just spend a few minutes on this. I've got to get this on tape. I don't know, but let me just make these comments about Trump because I've been wanting to say this. I don't vote, so don't take us politically. I don't get involved in the nonsense. I can't stand the Democrats. Clinton, Obama, Biden, they're sick, disgusting human beings. But I still live here, So I remember, like, crystal clear, this happened to me. I came home from work. I think I had a late flight that day. It was dark. It was nighttime. It was like 9 o'clock. And I got home, and my dad was watching TV, which he normally does. And I went down and said, hey, what's going on? I looked over, and he had the TV on. And there was the Republican debate, which I could care less. I don't keep track of it. Wasn't involved in it. Well, there's Trump on the stage. And I remember, like, being completely astonished. Now, I knew about Trump years before he was involved in politics. I liked The Apprentice. I worked in aviation my whole entire life. I knew, Trump bought an airline. We talked about it in college, on marketing. I knew about Donald Trump. I had zero idea the guy had any interest in politics at all. I wasn't keeping track of Trump. But I did watch The Apprentice, so I liked it because I like marketing. It was a pretty good show. And so I saw him. And I was astonished, and I asked my dad, I said, Dad, what is Trump doing up there? He goes, yeah, he's in the debate. And the first thing that went through my head, this is the honest truth, people, I said to myself, oh, he's doing a promo for NBC for The Apprentice. And I'm like, pretty good idea. And he's all the way on the end. And I had no idea, literally. So he kept winning these debates, and all of a sudden, he's the candidate, and then he wins. And this is his first term. And I liked him back then. And when he gave his conventions, his speeches at his, political rallies and all these things, like, man, that's exactly what I want to hear from a politician. And I'm not, like I said, I don't vote, but I'm like, wow, this really sounds good to me. And, make America great, America first. I'm like, man, this is like, even though I don't participate in politics, it's kind of like what you want to hear from a politician if you're going to live in this country. So I'm like, yeah, kind of like on his side. And then, he was there for 4 years, and then he lost to Biden. And I was calling Trump the king of the North his first term. You could ask my dad, and go back and watch my videos. But he lost, and I'm like, oh man, I'm wrong. I have to reevaluate my position on this. Well, then he won again, and I did not expect that, and I'm like astonished because this whack job, Kamala Harris, my dog could have beat her, but I don't want to go. Like I said, I hate politics. I don't get involved, but I do live here, so I was glad that Trump won, but he changed completely. But my observation about Trump is, I think there's people behind him controlling him. Because it's too much of a change. Something's going on with the guy. And plus on top of that, he looks like he's going to die. I mean, I think I said that a couple months ago or about a month ago in my Bible studies, that there's doctors online who are saying the guy has pulmonary embolisms and heart problems. And he's probably had strokes. He has frontal lobe dementia and all these health problems he has with his kidneys. And he's on these experimental drugs, and they're keeping him alive. And he's falling asleep. I mean, it's just, he looks bad. And I'm like, man, he's going to die. But from my point of view at Truebred, saying, which I've been saying since he was first elected, that Trump is the king of the North, that I believe he's not going to die and live until Armageddon, but I think he's being controlled or manipulated. And you know who I'm talking about. What's this lady's name? Miriam Alberson, or whatever her name is, behind the scenes, who basically bought him the election. So, but he has a role to play. Nothing else makes any sense to me. Why did the guy come out of nowhere? He's on that stage in the debate. He had nothing to do with politics his entire life. Here he is in the most powerful position in the world in politics and government, and can make decisions about nuclear weapons. And that's why I'm saying Trump's the king of the North. He's the little horn of Daniel 7 verse 8. But part of me almost feels sorry for him. I think he's being used and manipulated from behind the scenes, is my point. And of course, that lines up exactly with prophecy, because there's got to be a human being in that role. Just like what happened with the Messiah and Judas Iscariot. Judas Iscariot was one of his 12 disciples. And that was prophesied to happen. Now, I don't want to sit here and say what I think is going to happen to Judas Iscariot. I have no idea. It's not my responsibility. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. I'll tell you that right now. Same with Trump. I don't know what his fate is going to be, but I know today, from my position at Truebred, he is the king of the North. There's no doubt about that in my mind. United States, NATO, the military power of the beast from Revelation 13, led by the little horn, the 10 horns of the beast, led by the little horn, the king of the North, Donald Trump, against the king of the South, Iran, beyond any doubt in my mind now, since versus 2003, forming this concept all the way through till today, and the United States and NATO versus BRICS, the kings from the East. And I've just been hearing, because I watch on X, I watch online, I go to news sites, Steve Quayle, Drudge, I don't see a lot on YouTube about news, really. A little bit on Facebook, mostly I don't even watch cable TV at all. Mostly the information I receive does come from X, and if I receive it from that, I try to double and triple check myself because I've been burned. But as of today, what I'm saying is that we have these forces that I was trying to formulate in my mind, which led to True Bread starting, trying to formulate in my mind from 2003 after 9/11, working as an airline pilot, trying to understand what's going on in my mind, to figuring out, wait a minute, what I'm reading in Daniel 11 and Revelation 13 is not lining up with anything I've been taught my entire life, and no one else is saying, even today in 2026, what I'm saying about these three blocks. I can't figure that out. I mean, I'm reading from the scripture, people. I'm not making this up. There's three blocks: the king of the north, the king of the south, and the kings from the east, all the way through the scripture from Daniel to Revelation. And there's nothing else that lines up today with that at all, zero. And the blocks I just mentioned line up exactly with what I've been saying and with what scripture says, and no one is talking about it except me here at True Bread. And I don't care about the notoriety. That's useless to me. I can care less about that. I'm just astonished people aren't saying it. That's my bewilderment of my mind. It's like, man, what else do you think you see? Because what is happening, like with this, like I call them the Sunday morning pastor films here in this country, these people are so bent over backwards to worship Trump. These evangelical so-called Christians and obviously the Zionists, they're not going to turn around and turn on their leader, their hero, Trump, and say, wait a minute, can you imagine a so-called evangelical pastor who salivates in his worship of Trump as being God sent to their mind, going, wait a minute, he's the king of the north. You think it's going to happen, really? Do you think Benjamin Netanyahu and the Zionists are going to be able to identify Donald Trump as the king of the north? No, they're not. There's no chance. There's no chance, because they are part of the king of the north. People want to argue online about the Zionists and how, man, I swear, Tucker Carlson, the guy, he makes me want to vomit. I think he's just getting around to 9/11 now. He acts like he's just talking about 9/11 now. He's acting like he just figured it out by himself when we've been talking about it for the last 25 years. I mean, I've studied it inside now for the last 25 years. But all of a sudden, since Tucker Carlson has a platform and all these millions of people, they'll act like, wow, Tucker just figured out 9/11. I was like, really? We've been doing it for 25 years? Not just me. I mean, I've been to Shanksville, I've been to the Pentagon, I've been to World Trade Center. I've seen Ground Zero. I've breathed the dirt. I saw the smoke coming out of the Ground Zero. I've looked right down in the hole. I've seen the pit. I've lived it, been there, done that. Started to get inside and outside, up and down, beyond a shadow of doubt. It was an inside job by the Zionists. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's obvious. But Tucker Carlson wants to say, oh my gosh, it's a Zionist. Like he just figured it out yesterday. He does it all the time with different things like that. So, but, let's hear Tucker get on the bandwagon. Of course, they never will, because he's a devout Catholic, so he says. But they won't. I don't know what it is. I really don't. And I'll keep making these videos, these studies as long as I can. I was just thinking about that. It's like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do that. If nukes go off like this week, I do not know what's going to happen with True Bread, to be honest with you. I don't know. I'm sure the moment that if he does make the decision, Trump makes the decision to use a tactical nuclear weapon on that Pickaxe Mountain, it'll be a martial law, and that'll be it. And I don't know what kind of freedoms we'll have. I mean, it's pretty obvious they're getting ready to control everything with AI and everything else they have for us to use. I mean, I think someone was saying that their toaster wanted their email address. I mean, just get your mind around it. The cars you can't even start if the AI doesn't let you. If the AI doesn't think you're safe to drive the car. I mean, they're going to be controlling everything. So my point is, if Trump, the leader of the King of the North, does use nukes, I'm not sure what that's going to mean for True Bread. I won't stop doing True Bread, but the point is, will I be able to get the videos out? That's the point. So I'll have a lot more to say about this coming up. I'll be keeping my eye out this week. Usually on the weekends, it'll be quiet until Sunday night, Monday morning, because it's pretty obvious Trump is trying to sway the markets every weekend. And he does. And the same thing with the deals. It's the deal, no deal, deal, no deal, deal, no deal, 38, 39, 40 times. You know, I'm going to obliterate them, or we're going to make a deal. I'm going to wipe you off the face of the earth, or we're going to make a deal. It's repetitive. It's psychotic. It does tend to make me believe he does have dementia, but it also goes right in line with what I think the person who fulfills the biblical role of the King of the North, what they would be like. So I have a lot more to say about this. Keep an eye on the news. Hope you all are safe out there. Be nice to each other and keep the faith.